So we've completed our measurements and we're ready to calculate the wavelength from the data we have. I'll use my data. I used a frequency of 1,252 Hertz. That's the same thing as saying 1,252 cycles per second that the wave is wiggling at. The first loud location occurred at 4 centimeters, then the second one at 18 centimeters. The third point where there was resonance in that tube occurred at 32 centimeters, and I got a fourth one that occurred at 46 centimeters. I'm going to start with the first location because I know what the picture looks like at that point. It looks like this. The length of the pipe should be 1/4 of the wavelength. Using just the first location, 4 centimeters, I've got the length of my pipe is equal to 1/4 of the wavelength. If I multiply both sides by 4, I get 4 times the length is equal to the wavelength. I convert the centimeters to meters, so that's 4 times 0.04 meters is my wavelength, and I get 0.16 meters or 16 centimeters for my wavelength. So why don't you pause the video and see if you can calculate it for the other two lengths also. We're back. I hope you've completed the calculations. If you had some trouble or you just want to check your answer, I'm going to do it now for my data. The second location where I heard a loud sound, the second place I had resonance in my pipe, occurred when the pipe was 18 centimeters long. And I know that the length of the pipe has to be equal to 3/4 of the wavelength when I get that resonance, when I get that louder sound. So the length is equal to 3/4 of the wavelength. I multiply both sides of the equation by 4. Then I divide both sides of the equation by 3. I plug in my length in meters, 0.18 meters, and I get the wavelength is 0.24 meters or 24 centimeters. I'll do one more for you. This is the third place I get resonance, the third loud location, and it occurs when the pipe is 32 centimeters long. So using that third location, I know the length of my pipe has to be 1 1/4 wavelengths. The length of my pipe has to be 5/4 times the wavelength. I multiply both sides by 4. I divide both sides of my equation by 5. And I get 4 times the length, and the length is 0.32 meters, divided by 5 gives me the wavelength. So my wavelength in this case came out to be 0.256 meters, 25.6 centimeters.